Okay, I have to explain the gameplay, because I know it is not the best. Because of one reason I chose this gameplay, because it perfectly exemplifies why I haven't really been able to play anything. And this is actually good, with air quotes there, compared to what I normally experience lag-wise. But pay attention to the constant micro-stuttering I experience through lag and rubber banding. Now, before you guys might say, oh, it's your PC, blah, 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 blah. It does the same exact thing on the Xbox as well. I mean, verbatim. I mean, yeah, I have a pretty decent PC. The only thing I really need to catch up on is my processor. Otherwise, I have a 3080 and a Ryzen 2700X. I run, on average, about 100 frames, as you guys can see in the top left corner. But if you pay attention to some of those micro stutters, it ping spikes. This match wasn't nowhere near as bad as what the other matches I experience, but I just wanted to use this because it was a really good example of, you can see it through the entire match, of constant micro stuttering. But today I wanted to talk about kind of my opinions on this game. I'm about level 54 now, almost through the prestige, and really I've gotten a good handle on this game and kind of how it is. Well, there's definitely some criticisms. And there's definitely... I'm sorry, I just fucking burped. But there's definitely some criticisms, and there's definitely some pluses to this game. And let's kind of get going here. We'll talk about the pros first. Let's start positive. The pros of this game is that the movement is silky. I like it. Now, it does feel extraordinarily frustrating with this micro-stuttering lag. It does feel extremely clunky, but when you are able to get it to play right, it does feel natural, because it is like older style Call of Duty. For those of you that might not know, especially for some of you that are new to the Call of Duty community or have never really done anything with the Call of Duty community except for, maybe these past few years, with starting with 2019 when Call of Duty started making a comeback, the movement in 2019, Cold War, and Vanguard was actually the black sheep of the entire series. Movement has never been that fast in any Call of Duty before, and I know that was that's Call of Duty's biggest criticism. I remember people criticizing Black Ops 2 for being too fast. Now, if they would have seen what we got here in 2019, I mean, honestly, the movement is almost, in 2019, faster than it was in Advanced Warfare, believe it or not. And yeah, Advanced Warfare had quick dodging, brief movements, but the overall average speed ends up being faster in Modern Warfare 2019 than Advanced Warfare. Now, some people might like that, some people don't, but I way prefer the older style Call of Duty. Actually, a lot of people complaining about the new movement, saying that the movement era of COD is over and they've ruined it and blah, blah, blah. This isn't one, the original Modern Warfare 2. The original Modern Warfare 2 is actually way slower than anything you could play now than actual Modern Warfare, in Modern Warfare 2 2022. Because if I can pull up some gameplay of the original Modern Warfare 2, I will, but because it's just, there's no way to really play it on PC. I don't have the plutonium set up or anything. So, it's really slow. Guys, go look up Jay Schlatt's channel, The Weekly Slap. He's always posting Modern Warfare 2 gameplay. That is the best spot to go see that. But, I mean, it is just not that fast. And the movement feels great. I do like that. The guns. There's a lot of variety here on the start. And now I know they're going to do more Battle Pass guns, just like 2019. But it is... There's a plenty of variety of guns. Say what you will about the new upgrade and progression system. Yeah, it's a little annoying. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. But I do appreciate them trying something new. I'm always down for Call of Duty to try something new, and then the next game say, okay, maybe that didn't work, and go back to it. And go back to whatever was before. I'm never going to fault the game for trying something new, and they tried something new, so alright. The perks are alright. They're not great, not horrible, sadly. The kill streaks are fun. The AI kill streaks, if not a little underwhelming, but... Now let's kind of get into the cons, and this is where I might go on a little bit of a tangent, because the pros of the game is that it feels good when it runs right on the internet, and that's not the game's fault, that is my ISP's fault. that is, and then the game looks pretty. It's a very beautiful game, honestly, for Call of Duty. It's a very pretty game. Looks realistic, looks good. The sound is fantastic. Playing it in my living room with the surround sound is amazing. And that's pretty much overall, it's an alright COD experience. Now for the cons. The cons, and I mean, it also comes from I'm pretty fresh off of a game that really frustrated me. But there seems to be extraordinarily crutch attachments. And there is attachments, and I've never been a fan of the gunsmith. The gunsmith was a cool idea in Modern Warfare 2019, and then it just turned into complete... Playing more 2019, you realize how absolutely overwhelming it is. And I didn't like that. I liked basically... I kind of want to go back to Pick 10. I really liked Pick 10. And I actually want to go back to Advanced Warfare's Pick 14. Either you got to pick 14 attachments, you got 14 created class options, or you got 10 plus 3 kill streaks. I loved that. I love that idea. I love the idea, and I wish more CODs would do it, of class-specific kill streaks. And... because you could basically form your classes around, what kill streaks is going. I remember back in Modern Warfare 3, I had my assault kill streaks, for my assault weapons. And then you had your supports, which, with LMG and rocket launchers to take out kill streaks and buff your team. And then you had Moab kill streaks of just like, okay, MP7 ACR, specialist kill streaks. And I really wish they'd bring back specialists in this game. But there's not enough perks, honestly. And that's another con. There's not a lot of perks, and then there's absolute crutch perks. So the crutch perks, in my opinion, are fast hands is give or take. And then there's battle hardened, and I don't remember what the other one is, but basically blast vest or whichever. There's the one where it lets you take reduce flash and reduce non-kill streak explosive damage. Those two are the base perks, and they're extraordinarily crutch perks. I mean, you cannot really play the game without them. Especially the flashes are brutal in this game. And then the master perk or the elite perk, whatever the last one is, Quick Fix is an absolute crutch perk in my opinion. There's no real purpose for any other perk in that last slot except for Quick Fix, because Quick Fix is so OP in my opinion. And if you would play the game and you haven't used Quick Fix yet, go ahead and put it on and see how much it just makes a difference. I'm trying to explain it into words, but it's amazing because you can be totally because of the health regen in this game is very slow to get started. It's almost like they tried to reminisce on Black Ops 4 where you had to take a moment to personally heal yourself, but it just is slow. So put on Quick Fix and you'll notice a lot of moments where if you're getting swarmed by dudes, and as long as there's a 3 to 4 second window between the first guy running into the room and the next guy, you'll be almost completely healed and ready to deck him. And especially because you don't have to do anything for it. I mean, you can take that same moment while you're regenning and reload. So then you're perfect. And those of you that don't know what Quick Fix is, or if you have never really paid attention to it, Quick Fix is the perk to where after you get a kill, it immediately starts the regen process. So a lot of people don't realize is that actually there is about, after you take damage, especially in this game, the reason why it's so slow, there is about a 4 to 5 second cooldown before you can start regenning health, before the regen process starts. The actual health regen is pretty quick. I mean, it's that, if a lot of people don't notice it, but it's that sound of you're coming out of water, that whoosh, that whooshing sound. That's your health regenning, and when that's done, once that sound starts and that's over, you're fully back to health. Well, basically, with Quick Fix, after you get a kill, it immediately starts that process. So it takes from about the 10-second, we'll just say 10-second total window to basically immediate, and so you're fully regened health as long as you're not getting shot again within 2 to 3 seconds. So I was just flabbergasted by this other attachment, though. This crutch attachment. It is, I don't remember what it's called because I don't have it unlocked on anything, because obviously I haven't really been able to play the game. And then now that I'm sort of just forcing myself, because the internet's gotten slightly better, I'm no longer getting kicked out of games, but it's still unstable. I'm trying out different weapons, like the gameplay you saw. This is the first game I've ever used the SCAR on, and I actually really enjoyed it. Well, so I'm using different weapons, so I don't have a lot of attachments unlocked for anything, or these late game attachments. But this green laser sight that lets you look to the side is just the craziest OP thing I've ever seen. The idea of it is to basically, and I know the actual idea, and I don't know if this was a game code issue or whatnot, and maybe it might be actually like this, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like it. The idea is that you are sacrificing accuracy from ADS time for a tighter hip spread guided by the laser, just, for a quicker ADS time and sprint to fire time. That is the purpose in the idea of it, I believe. But in actual execution, I don't know if this is a game code issue, but it seems to wherever that green laser is, there is no hip fire spread. It is just the same as ADSing, but extremely fast. I can't tell you the amount of times that people with the SPR, don't even get me started on that fucking gun, people with the SPR can sit across the map and just dome you with that like nothing. And it seems to where no matter where that green laser is, it is going to go firing right towards you. So I'm just sitting there flabbergasted, getting murdered. And also, okay, I am going to go on an SPR rant here. The SPR is the most crazy OP weapon in the fucking game. Snipers in general, for the past 4 or 5 years in COD, have just been stupidly OP. I know there was, in Modern Warfare 2019, a big assault rifle M4 issue, but then the SPR came out, and then they buffed the snipers, and I just, personally, I want to go back to Black Ops 2 of, there was 4 snipers. 2 of them were you could kind of quick scope with. One of them you could, the ballista. But, that one you had to hit from the freaking pretty much heart up to get a one-shot. And it was, and you still had to be somewhat decent to do that. But seriously, it just feels like this SPR is an I win button. Snipers in this game are an I win button. Especially if they have that green laser sight. I can't tell you how many times I have experienced, and I've even used it and done this before, where some guy has come running at me around the corner, or I've come running around the corner at someone, and they have turned around, and without even pressing the left trigger or right click to aim down sights, panic shot and instantly domed me. And all they had to do was just center the crosshair. Obviously I wasn't, it's not like they're doing that totally from 180 feet across the map, but still, I remember old Call of Duty, and maybe it's just, they just changed snipers, and I'm not the biggest fan of it. Old Call of Duty, it was genuinely an impressive sight to get a no-scope because it was just well known. Honestly, if you still have Black Ops 2, that's the biggest comparison. Is go in Black Ops 2, aim down sight, shoot 4 bullets. You'll notice that your bullet goes to this spot you aimed every time. Now, do the same thing without aiming down sights, and you notice it goes into a completely different direction every time. But that was the trade-off. The snipers were generally one-shot kills. So you sacrificed, okay, I need to be aiming down sights to get accurate kills, but it only took 1 bullet. It wasn't like an MSMC where I needed to dump half a mag into someone to kill him. This game, on the other hand, and Modern Warfare 2019 started it, and just pisses me off of just how crazy OP that gun is. Now, obviously, everyone's like, truly what it is, skill issue. But that gun is just the lack of skill. I hate using it, and I'm good with it. I'm not trying just to sit here and brag, but the few times I have used it when the internet has worked, because, even if, and I still was doing pretty good with the internet, but just guns that require one-shot kills, horrible when you're lagging, because, for real, you just, because you're shooting at someone that isn't actually there anymore, so it's just unusable. But I've done pretty well with it after, getting some decent internet. And it's just crazy, and I hate that they brought it back. They seem to always cater to these people that want to just sit here and get phase montages. Now, another gripe of the game that I have is that they seem to have brought, even though I just talked about some skill things, it seems overall they have brought the skill ceiling down. Now, old school Call of Duty was, if you were good and you put in the time, you would go into every lobby and slap people. Now, I'm not going to get into a skill-based matchmaking rant because I've been in them multiple times over the years. Everyone has beaten that to death. We've been dealing with skill-based matchmaking issues for a long time now, so I'm not going to kind of leave that, but know that I will mention it. So, it used to be, because Call of Duty was all based off connection, which was when it was golden, so you'd always have a good, solid match to play, and that could either mean you got matched with the best of the best and got your ass handed to you, or if you were a better than average player, you were usually topping the leaderboards, if not one or two or three at the board, playing these game modes. Now you do really well, and nothing was as bad as what Cold War was. Cold War was an absolute atrocious sweat fest. This game seems to be better, but not great, than Cold War. But you get one decent game in, and then you're going to get slapped. Or you're going to not get slapped, working your ass off to be able to compete. And it just drives me nuts. It makes it tiring. You get 3 games in, you're like exhausted. Just mentally worn from keeping on your A game, especially because I hate Team Deathmatch. I've never liked Team Deathmatch in any of the games for the main reason that you can't control the map because spawns are random. But in this game, spawns are absolutely atrocious. So it just is even worse. I mean, I've had multiple times, even on Domination, where I've had enemies spawn in front of me, or I've spawned in front of enemies, and then they just kill me. And it's not like I'm mad at them. I mean, I would do the same. I do the same when they spawn in front of me. Like, oh shit, here's a free kill. Poor guy just spawned in front of me, has no idea. So, I don't like Team Deathmatch. So playing these objective game modes where generally more skilled players go to play is just exhausting. Because Domination takes on average 8 to 10 minutes. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in general, Call of Duty matches, especially before they raised the Team Deathmatch cap, an average Team Deathmatch game was like 3 to 4 minutes, 5 minutes at most for most Call of Duties. Now, this game, they're a little bit longer, and I mostly fault that to the maps, because the maps are just absolutely huge. For 6v6, some of them are just so big, it just doesn't make sense. And then other ones are almost so small, you're just on top of each other. There's no breathing room. Now with the map design, there comes another issue. The maps are definitely designed for campers. Now, I know everyone's clowned on Infinity Ward, and they deserve it, and I'm going to clown on them a little bit here. Camping it's a viable strategy, it's a real strategy, but it's always been one of those things that's been kind of shamed on, because honestly, it doesn't take skill to sit in a corner and wait for someone to come walking around the corner. Now, camping was A-OK. I never really got horribly mad at campers all these years because it was generally understood, and most of the time when the guy was camping, you could look at its level. He would either, if it was an older game, he either just wasn't prestiged or he was a pretty low level. It was relatively understood that campers were generally newer or just lower skilled players that are just there, grab a couple kills, have a good time. In most CODs, you could pretty easily just fuck with a camper and just decimate him anyway, because, there was always some other option. In this game, they've changed some things, and now they don't even call them campers. They're called Sentinel players. That's how much they're trying to appeal to them. They gave them their own non-derogatory term, but they're always going to be campers. Everyone knows they're fucking campers. So, the one thing that just bugs the shit out of me is the footsteps in this game. The footsteps in this game are just abysmal. If you're trying to sit here and relax and play a game while listening to music, you are screwing yourself out of at least 20 kills. Or putting yourself at a major disadvantage to anyone that is purely listening to gameplay. And anyone that isn't listening to a home theater system that is very advanced, which mine isn't even as advanced as what it should be, or has a gaming headset, you are also putting yourself at a major disadvantage for not having those things, because of how loud the footsteps are. There's so many times where I've seen kill cams, because I'll walk around the corner and all of a sudden I just got walloped by some guy that seemed to almost see me through the wall, but it's because he heard me. And on the kill cam, you can see him 5 seconds before he even popped around the corner, he heard me and moved towards it because he knew I was going to walk through there because the footsteps are that defined. And that just drives me nuts. And then the next thing they did to help for these players, because the one key giveaway for old school camping that someone was sitting there was every time they fire, their radar dot never moved. So you're like, okay, this fucker's sitting right here. I see him every time he's killed someone. He's not, that dot has gone right there and hasn't moved. Well, now they changed the radar to where you can shoot all you want and you don't appear on the radar. The only time you appear on the radar is if you got UAV'd, or I think they kind of took the Black Ops 4 way of someone is looking at you, you pop on there. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I know for sure, just by generally firing, you do not pop on the radar. Unless they've changed that from what last time I've seen, but from what I've seen, it's basically that way. Which is just mind-boggling. That was a core mechanic of Call of Duty for years. Of just basically you had to check your shots. And, you know, and then there was also, I was talking with one of my buddies. I'm like, man, you know, that caused you to check your shots, not shoot. Or if you were skilled enough and you could really try to mess with someone, you almost did it on purpose. You'd tag them because you knew you weren't going to be able to hit them to bait them to come back. Or, I mean, there's been a lot of times where I'd be playing Search and Destroy on an older Call of Duty. And what I would do, I'd pop on Dead Silence, especially because that was Dead Silence was a perk back then. And you'd shoot in the air around someone, acting like you saw someone on one side of the bomb. Then you'd immediately run to the other side because that guy's running his way over to that bomb site because he thinks you're over there. Now, obviously, that's a very casual play space, and, you know, that probably wouldn't ever work in, like, professional/league play environments because that is a pretty high-level tactic that a lot of people are going to think about, like, oh, no, that guy's just trying to psychologically bait me out. So, and just, that is mind-boggling of how much they want to decimate the play style of rushing. And obviously, they want to kill the movement gods and all those people, and I believe half those people you see on TikTok are fucking hacking anyway. There's been so many cases of them hacking, and when this game has come out, the anti-cheat is so abysmal that hacking is atrocious. I mean, I've seen on TikTok scrolling through where people are live streaming them, literally walling, aimbotting, everything, and they're just playing normal. I mean, they've been playing for hours and days. It's phenomenal. Like, how have they not gotten banned? The anti-cheat is just abysmal. No, I know most games anti-cheat just don't seem to get it done right. And a lot of it's because of this PC integration. You know, because it's really tough. Because anti-cheat used to be handled by the consoles, by Xbox Live, by PlayStation Network. Because the way old school hacks used to work, and most hacks worked all the way until Modern Warfare 2019 and the invention of the Cronus and all that stuff, was that you had to hack your console, which was against the console's terms of service. Sony and Microsoft had things that would flag them if you used them. I mean, there was a lot of times where people would just mod their consoles for fun, like especially like Call of Duty Zombies, where there's no competitive edge, anything like that. Think what you will about modding zombies, but I do remember talking to people where they're like, you know, they're saying, hey, I have mods and everything. Do you guys want to back out and get a private lobby going? Because you couldn't do it on a public lobby because something would flag if they did it online on an actual public lobby, but if they did it in a private match, it wouldn't flag. So, I mean, that's just kind of the difference. So it was handled by the consoles, and PC has always had a hacking issue for Call of Duty, but it was, you know, somewhat, because of this, how small the PC community was, more or less it was self-governed, where people would just instantly call people out, and there was all private servers, so that person would get banned from that server. But now that Call of Duty has gotten bigger than it's ever really gotten before with cross-platform, obviously it's nowhere near as big as what it used to be. I mean, literally, I remember seeing the player counts in 1 million on Black Ops 1 on Xbox. And keep in mind, that was before cross-platform. So that was 1 million Xbox 360s alone, not including the PlayStation 3 and PC. That was just Xbox. So I know the game is nowhere near as popular as what it used to be. and nowhere near as big, but the scope has gotten so big. Crossplay has caused some issues, and this game's suffering from it. Now, I do hope that with this being a 2-year dev cycle, or 2-year-long game, that they're going to take some time to really change stuff. I know one thing that they said, I don't know when it's going to come out, but they did say they're going to overhaul the UI. That's why I didn't really go into the UI of how abysmal it is, because they did already come out and say they are planning on revamping the UI, because it is abysmal. It's horrible. So, hopefully, with this being a 2-year game, they'll take some time to really work on it. And obviously, the next game we're going to get is going to be another 2-year game. So, and hopefully that they don't drop this game like they did with 2019. Cold War still got updates and content and stuff for a while after Vanguard came out. So I'm hoping this game will still get stuff, unlike Modern Warfare 2019. As soon as Cold War came out, this game got dropped like a hot potato. I would like them to put some new maps, real maps, not remasters. I want to see actually, like, intelligently made maps. I'm tired of everything being a fucking 3-lane. And if they are going to remaster some maps, remaster some actual MW2 maps. For real. High Rise is in the fucking game. It's in Warzone. But it's not in the actual multiplayer. High Rise is such a classic. I don't know why they won't bring back High Rise into the normal 6v6. Warzone is really hurting the 6v6 multiplayer. If you don't only play Warzone, you're definitely going to get shafted in the overall experience. But, you know, and it sucks because that means if you're playing Call of Duty and you're not only playing Warzone, that means you're a paid player, where the people that are only playing Warzone are free players. You know, and maybe they bought something. They might have bought the game. I don't know. I've always bought Call of Duty, so I don't really know the experience of playing Warzone just for free. What you get with it and everything. But overall, you're getting shafted as a player for spending $70 on the game, because it's more or less generalized that if you're spending $70 on the game, you're not really focusing only on Warzone. You're playing the 6v6, you're playing the campaign, you're playing the Spec Ops, and everything like that. So this kind of went on a little bit of a longer rant. I remember starting the cons at 5 minutes into the episode. But, you know, this game does have some issues, but overall, it's an alright playable game. Of course, nowhere near as good as the original Modern Warfare 2. I know there was rumors for a long time about bringing Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare 2, and remastering the multiplayer. And I was really hoping for that, but I knew damn well that if they did, every new Call of Duty gets shit on, because these new CODs get shit on already for not being as good as the original Modern Warfare 2. God forbid they would have remastered it and just refreshed everyone's memories and got all these new players playing the original Modern Warfare 2 and like, oh my god, this was so much better. They would have been screwed. So with that being said, let me know what your guys' thoughts in the comment section down below on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 2022. If you guys want me to touch onto the campaign, let me know. I will make a separate video on it. The campaign, I do have other opinions on. I just don't want to touch on it. This is mainly a multiplayer focus. If you guys want me to review the DMZ zone, Warzone, all that stuff, let me know in the comment section down below. And otherwise, I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.